So, salam alaikum,
Wa
Roham.
alaikum assalam. How's everything?
Alhamdulillah, and you?
All good, Sid. All is good. All is good. Everything is well. Thanks for having me over
My
here.
pleasure.
Appreciate it a lot. Today we're here discussing about Dubai's real estate mainly,
Uh-huh.
future plans of Dubai, all the things that are going on. So, shoot. What's the conversation going to start with? What is it going to look like?
Before we talk about any real estate, the one question I ask anybody, what's your story?
Okay. Let me give you an overview, Sid. I'm fresh in real estate. Before that, not a lot of people know. I was in the fitness community. Um, for about like a year and a half, I had a business venture as well. I was like in business with someone. We were partners.
Wow.
This was to do with meal prep because
Wow.
food and healthy eating was something I was passionate about. I was a fat kid initially when I was younger, so it was something that I felt like I could help a lot of people, and I liked this whole entrepreneur mindset and start up a business, figure out the strategy, work on a couple years, let it run on autopilot. You benefit, others benefit, but unfortunately that came to an abrupt end because of issues between me and my partner. But all is good, it's business, it happens. And then after that I wasn't doing anything for like a month or two, and I always thought real estate is a portal to wealth. That was always the
100%.
consensus. That was always like, when I get money, it's going to go into real estate. So I got a suggestion from my mother. She's like, I have a good friend who's in real estate and she does well for herself. And it's a very nice niche company. They're like a family. Why don't you go in for an interview? So I did that, and I really liked it. I started off, at first I was only collecting knowledge for like the first 5 months, 6 months. I was trying to pour into my brain as much as I could, especially being younger. You do have to do that little bit extra, in order to be up to date with everything that's happened, from a few years back up until today. And ever since then, it's been going smoothly. Few transactions here and there, Alhamdulillah, can't complain. Everything is going well.
That's awesome. So, I'm
Yeah.
happy to see that's your introduction. And when people see young people, especially in a field like real estate, where people who are older have a lot more knowledge, it creates a bias against young people. And the only way you can actually break the bias is by showing results.
Exactly. Knowledge more specifically, because real estate is time based. As we all know, investing takes time. The main focus is always the amount of time. When is the project getting handed over? How much am I getting ROI in a year? So it's very time based,
Mhm.
and especially a older realtor compared to a younger one, there will be a bias towards the older one because, oh, he's been here, he's seen the market. But then there's this misconception because someone may be in their mid 30s, but they've been in Dubai for like a year,
Yeah.
and they're fairly new to the market versus obviously if there's a veteran of the market where he's been in the market for like 10 years, seen all of the messy stuff that's happened 2008 and 9, and been through the ups and downs of the market, he's almost as old as Dubai's market
Yeah.
itself. But then again, you have an example of these people who are in their mid 30s. They show a lot of maturity and they present themselves in a way, but then they've only been in Dubai for a year and they may not have the best of knowledge. And then you can compare it to someone who's a realtor who's like 21, 22, but he was born and raised in Dubai. So automatically he's more conditioned to be able to grab information much more efficiently because he's grown up here, he's seen everything getting developed with his own eyes,
Yeah.
and he has a great sense of what Dubai is like, how their leaders are. So I feel like in the sense of predicting for the future and giving good investment advice, at times the younger person may be a better go-to compared to the older one who's only been here for like a year.
100%. I agree with you. We talked about the past, 2008, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the future. To start with, we have a lot of properties coming up in
Yeah.
Dubai. There's a lot of launches. Maybe I think something said once every week or something on the lines of this, where a new launch is coming up. We have X amount of population. Do you think the amount of properties going to get handed over is actually going to be able to meet the expectation?
Okay, let me put it for you this way. Data. It's very populated. It's quite a big area as well. It's not small by any means.
Mhm.
If you had to take a guess at the population of Data, I'm talking about all of the shared accommodations, all of the families staying there. What ballpark of what number would you give me?
Quarter of a million?
Quarter of a million, yeah? Okay. In Data, it's about half a million people
Wow.
just in Data. And Data is like maybe it's like 1/5 or even less, maybe like 1/10 of Dubai compared to the rest. When you have Dubai South, downtown, Maidan, Bar Dubai, all of these different areas, Dubai land. For perspective, the estimation of people living in just Dubai South, so around the airport, AMR South, and all of this, is estimated to be 1 million people by the year 2023.
Okay.
2023? No, sorry. 2033. Sorry, 2033. Yeah. So my bad over there. So the population is going to be very dense. Now, the issue or like the question that most people have is, what if we face oversupply? I think Dubai is at the point where it isn't just brochures anymore. There is actually a lot of incentive for people to come. A lot of good, high, well-paying jobs, especially if you're coming from the West and you
100%.
have a good degree. That's number one. Number two is if you buy a home for you and your family, or even just an investment, which is around or like 2 million and above, you have the incentive of a golden visa. Which is giving people the idea of Dubai isn't just a destination for you to just come in, get money, and like leave, right? That's not the case anymore. People are actually thinking of this place as like more of a long-term place to live. And a retirement visa came out
Yeah.
as well. Point I want to get to here is that in Dubai, you have almost 100 to 200,000 people moving here on residency visas every single year.
Wow.
And the amount of properties on average being handed over in Dubai is 35,000 to about 45,000 per year.
Okay.
And they all need housing. And this is excluding the amount of tourists that come through and are in need of hotels, and especially short-term rental Airbnbs, which we all know is an extremely profitable business here in Dubai. So when you compare the demand and the supply, it's not looking like it will slow down anytime soon.
See, you mentioned we have 20, 25,000 people coming in on a residency visa every single year, or is it 250?
It's 100,000 to 200,000 people.
And only 30,000.
Only between 35,000 to 45,000 units get handed over every single year. And last year, I believe, there was about over 515 or 550, over 550,000 Ijaris and over 120,000 home purchases. And if you look at Dubai's market supply, there is about 725,000 within the market, with a further 35,000 being added this month. So if you look at it, more than 95% of houses were either rented out or they were bought out. So it means there is a demand for it.
Now let's talk about short-term rentals.
Okay.
You said it's a very profitable method as to release your house in Dubai. And why do you think this is?
So the thing with short-term rentals is this works for long-term rentals as well. So whenever you want to rent out a home, the landlord is like, you pay me in one check, I'll give it to you for 100,000. But if you pay me in 4 checks, you take it for, let's say, 120,000. If you pay me in 2 checks, I'll give it to you for 110,000. It's like the sooner the landlord gets his guarantee of the money in his bank account, he's willing to go lower. Now, when you take a risk such as short term, which is seasonal, so in the summer, you're going to be having a hard time just to break even, but then in the winter, you're profiting. But then there's a chance that you're not going to be making money, or you're risking it because you don't have the same stable tenant living in there. So for that risk that you're taking, and you're giving the option of daily rentals of the property or weekly and monthly, you actually charge them more for the privilege that they have of having these really short-term rentals.
Okay.
And it's with tourists, and especially if you make it look nice, very nice furnishing, if the building has good amenities, they're willing to splurge.
Talking about short-term rentals, have you seen somebody on Instagram called Subleasing Dubai?
I have seen him, and he's a very good example of how you can actually do short-term rentals by putting down like the first month's check only, depending on the property that you're doing. But again, very high risk. And what you've seen with him is it's a working business model. He makes a good amount of money, but then you need to have reserve money for the low season, or in seasons like Ramadan where tourists barely come.
Yeah.
Because there's still this conception of Dubai, you cannot eat outside, you cannot drink outside, everyone is indoors, you can't enjoy yourself. But that's not really the case anymore. Maybe it was like 5-10
Yeah,
years
they got
ago.
distinguished like 2017 or 2019, I believe. I
Yeah,
remember,
they changed up the laws and everything was opened up. I remember back when I was younger, in the malls, the food courts were like closed, and all
Yeah.
of the diners in the mall were like shut down, and that's not the case anymore.
think that shows that Dubai honestly is getting a place where tourists can come in no matter where they are from the world. Dubai is becoming like a home tourist destination
Exactly.
to
And the
them.
thing with Dubai is the largest, it's one of the cities with the largest amount of expats
Hmm.
compared to citizens and local who are actually passport holders. So it's extremely diverse. Something around 186 different nationalities live in Dubai. Obviously, there are majorities like Indians,
Hmm.
Filipinos, a lot of like,
Pakistanis, Bangladeshis.
Pakistanis, Arabs as well,
Yeah, Arabs a
Syrians,
lot.
Palestinians, all of these, a good population of Iranians as well. So it's extremely diverse with minorities from probably every single other
Yeah.
country that
I
there
mean,
is.
a lot of people think I'm Indian because I am, but I actually hold a Mauritius passport.
A
Mauritius. Mauritius.
Mauritius, a Mauritius passport.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing, right? You meet a lot of people from very different backgrounds. So you can look like you're something, and you can be something else, right?
100%.
So like people look at me and they see the way I'm dressed, they're like, "Oh, you're Arab." I'm like, "No, I'm Iranian." And then you see someone who's dressed so casually and they're like, "Oh, are you from here?" And he's like, "No, I'm Arab." People from different ethnicities holding different passports, like, you said you're Mauritius. I
Yeah.
know Indians holding Canadian. I know Indians holding American. I know Indians holding British passports. So it's somewhere where everyone can just conjoin and
100%.
live out a good life without any judgment. Like you mind your own business, you do your own thing. No one's gonna
100%.
have anything to do
Now
with you.
we've
Yeah.
talked about the future. Let's go back to the past.
Okay, so Dubai's past is a little complicated. So what happened was before you could basically take out a plot on a loan from the bank. So effectively you would only pay 10-20% of the price, and you were allowed back then to start a development on a land that you didn't fully own and the bank owned. So effectively, let's say the land is worth 100 million back then, which was a really big piece of land, and you paid, let's say, only 10 million down, right? So effectively what you can do is you can hire few designers, few quote unquote engineers, do some floor plans, do a nice facade of a building, make a nice brochure, put up a really attractive price. Everyone's gonna come put their money in because there isn't an escrow account. An escrow account is designed to keep you safe because a developer cannot take the money before the project is complete. But that wasn't the case before, right?
And this was when? When are we talking about when did we do
2007,
this?
2008, 2009.
Okay.
Okay. Developer would pocket the money and bye bye. Go to Iran or Pakistan, put it inside the bank where they give you some like 10% interest on your money,
Yeah.
and they would just live there. And yeah, you could have Interpol chase them, but how much can Interpol
Yeah.
really do in countries like
And
this, right?
honestly, 10 million dirhams, dollars? It's not as big as you think compared to who Interpol is actually chasing down. We have hundreds of millions of dollars.
But here's the thing, right? They did not steal that 10 million. They put down 10 million on a plot that's worth 100 million. Came up with a few drawings, sold it, probably pocketed over 100 to 200 million
Okay.
dirhams. This is like the least I'm talking about. If they sold it for, pennies on the dollar, pocketed that money because your plot is costing you 100
Yeah.
million, your development is probably going to cost you another 100 million. So only if you put up like bullshit prices just
Yeah.
to sell out and just pocket the money and go. But realistically, a lot of people did not do that, and they put their money into it at very attractive rates that were slightly below market, which effectively would give the developer close to 1 billion dirhams in their pocket, and they
Wow.
would just flee off maybe like 3-4 people in it, and done, your money's gone, that's it.
So, that's actually quite relatable as back in maybe 2007, 2006, 2005, once Dubai was in its prime, which we're also going to talk about soon,
Yeah.
my family had invested in a commercial plot here in DIP. And they were so happy commercial plots were doing so well. But back then, the prices were a bit inflated, and we ended up paying just around 1.1 million for a 1,600 square foot commercial
Plot.
plot back in DIP. It was in a building, and back then, 1.1 million for that much square foot was a lot.
Was a lot, yeah.
Not like compared to now, it's not that much. So we ended up waiting for the property to get developed, and as the market went down, the developer ran away and left the building in a very bad state. But I think it was like a couple years ago now, Dubai, the government itself, took the initiative, the Dubai Knowledge Park, I believe, and they chose to take over the building and manage it to where it's a point where there's so many more commercial companies working there. So this shows the dedication that the government has to actually make sure that the residents are happy.
100%. And the new initiatives with the new laws in 2008, 2009, a lot of new laws got released, such as escrow accounts. If a project is abandoned, basically what happens is it gets auctioned off to other
Yeah.
developers. Another developer can buy it, continue the project, and effectively you would continue making payments to that new developer. An example of this not many people know is actually Moon Tower on the Business Bay Canal,
Wow.
right around where the new Dorchester is, and where Omniat is really developing and bringing up and upscaling that area. Yeah, that tower has been in development for around 7 years,
7.
and it's passed down 3 different developers. So the
Wow.
initial developer, another developer that abandoned the project, and then the last one which actually ended up handing it over.
Okay.
In the case that a developer cannot hand over your project and no one actually buys it, what happens is the escrow is there. Now, obviously, they might have taken some money out for the escrow
Yeah.
because they're allowed to do that at certain stages of the completion, assuming that, let's say, 80% of your money is left. So what they effectively do is they give you back your share of the money that's
Yeah.
still left. They take that piece of, if it's still a land, if there's a bit of construction, they sell it at least enough of a margin to cover your expenses or the money that you actually paid down. So whatever money that's not in the escrow, the government will sell that piece of plot and give you back your shares again. So effectively, yes, it may take long, but you're either getting your property or you're getting your money back into your bank account.
So I think this shows that the government honestly is taking care of its citizens, is taking care of its investors. And it just shows such good light on the Dubai government, just due to the fact that what they're doing right now it's amazing.
Yeah, well, the thing with investing in Dubai, it's kind of like you have to believe in Dubai. If you believe in Dubai's initiative and how far they have come, it basically goes to show that, I believe in Dubai. The branch after that, when it comes to real estate, is the government-owned developments or developers, which is Amar, and then there is,
Nakheel.
Dubai Holding, which Nakheel falls under, Maidan falls under, Dubai Properties falls under, and Miras falls under. So this is one of the reasons why I suggest government developers most of the time as well, because it's basically not just some CEO looking to make money. This is literally the plan of Dubai, the masterminds behind this whole government, this whole city, bringing projects to people to reside in, have families in, and to invest in.
They're taking care of their investors. If the reason they're making a certain development in a certain place, it's because they know there's gonna be a lot of foot flow coming in. There's gonna be lots of demand in that area. The government has everything planned. It's for its 2033 goals.
Mm-hmm,
So I think
100%.
that's what the government is looking for.
2033 goals.
2033.
2033.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Let's talk about the amount of real estate agents in Dubai.
Okay, I'll tell you one thing. Once something is good and people are making money out of it, there's this factor called FOMO, fear of missing out. It's kind of like investing or like crypto. Crypto prices shoot up and everyone starts investing, but then it's hit its peak. And then right after that investor invests because of FOMO, fear of missing out, they
Yeah.
lose money. So, and then they turn back, they're like, oh, it was a scam, it was this, it was that, they scammed me. But the truth behind the fundamentals of FOMO is that everyone joins when it's too late, when there's a hype for it. So right now in Dubai, there's a hype for being a real estate agent. You see a lot of people joining, quitting after 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. But then again, this destabilizes, the market for agents, because then you have a lot of amateurs cold calling,
Yeah.
doing the wrong things, and it really sets a bad negative image for the veterans and the actual professionals within the job.
I think the cold calls is the worst part. I see my family, they own a couple properties, maybe getting 10 to 15 cold calls a day joint. And if I was them, I'm like, thank God I'm not getting these cold calls, because it just looks like you're put in such a bad scenario.
I'll tell you one thing. The thing with cold calling is most people call and they don't know what to say. So if you're cold calling as an agent, you should call, you should have that person's every single information about their property. You should know about the community. You should be able to provide some value, right? So if you cold call, give some insight about what's coming up in the property. Maybe the property or the building or the community is going to hand over in like 3 more months. Give insight on the market, how the demand is like, what it's going to look like, any updates from the developers. You have to give knowledge to a certain point and sort of be an asset and not a headache to the person that you're
100%.
calling. As soon as you can actually deliver some information and some value, they will look at working with you. Or else if you don't and you're just calling up and you're like, is it for sale? They tell you yes. And then you're like, how many bedrooms is it? He's gonna cuss at you. He's gonna be like, you don't know how many bedrooms. You have my data, which is illegally stolen
Yeah.
actually from the Dubai Land Department. And you didn't bother looking at the unit number in it and taking a look at my floor plan. Like, you have people
Come on.
calling up, they're like, how many bedrooms is it? And then the investor goes like, it's three. And then it's like, what's the view? It's water view. Does it have a maid's room? Yes. You think this guy's gonna want to work with you?
He has more things to do. He wants
Exactly.
to. Whenever you want to work with somebody, you want to see if they're prepared. That shows you their work ethic.
Yes.
All about the work ethic. That's how you can tell if someone's good.
100%. I think it's very lazy and actually really disrespectful to the landlord whenever you call to the owner and you ask these silly questions, because you're not respecting his time, you're not giving him any value, and you're not giving him any reason to work with you. When an hour later, or maybe an hour before you, some expert in the community called him, had a proper conversation with him, followed up with him on WhatsApp, gave him a lot of insight about what's going on in the market, had a laugh with him, and this, builds rapport and a good relationship, and he will be incentivized to work with him versus, Rajesh on the phone calling and he's like, is your property for sale? I have a client with a check, when he has nobody, right?
There's actually something I saw about that on Instagram. There was one realtor who specialized in ranches, and he cold called a client saying, "Are you looking to sell your property?" Normal cold call. I'm not sure if he had anything unique. But the client said yes, due to the fact that there is a petrol pump coming up right next to my
Yeah.
property. So he ended up calling the people in his maybe like 2 to 3 house as a radius.
Yeah.
And told them there's going to be a petrol pump right behind your house. Are you looking to sell? I can get you a good buyer. So it's just these small things that make the biggest difference.
100%. So when you're in touch with the actual owners, that owner may be aware of something that AMR told them, or because they actually have early access to the community for snagging. Whereas if you don't have a unit on hand and you're new to specializing in the community, you probably couldn't get access to that snagging period. And if you have a good rapport with the owner, they can actually give you some insight about what's going on, which then you can share with the other owners. And this is what slowly enables you to be an actual area specialist. These like small secrets, small things that are coming up. And this just one line alone by itself that he used,
So powerful.
that there is, exactly, it's so powerful, because no one wants to live next to a petrol station. What if a fire breaks out? The smell of fuel, all the cars that are going to be there, the air pollution.
It's not safe too. It's not safe to live next
Actually,
to one.
I believe it was one of the ranches that had a Kafu truck
Yeah.
explode in it, right? Or it set on
I don't
fire
think it was
or
Cafu
something.
actually. I think it was an Enoch container that fell over.
It was
Something
something
on the
of
lines of
the
that,
sorts,
yeah.
but I believe it was in the community and it was a Kafu truck.
Actually, I used to live really close to there. It was on the side of the main road next to a petrol pump.
Okay.
Just a bit ahead, right on the side where it's empty land of grass or of sand.
Okay.
The Cafu truck either fell there or an Enoch truck fell there. It was all on fire. Luckily, no properties went on fire. But again, it's just the small risks of these things which could make
Exactly.
a big difference.
Exactly. Actually, Dubai is one of the places which I've seen where petrol pumps are in such close proximity to buildings and houses. For example, Iran, where I'm from, petrol pumps are on the outskirts of neighborhoods and they're on the outskirts of small cities. If it's a small city or a
Yeah.
town, they're literally on the outskirts in case of any fire so that it doesn't spread or it doesn't burn down any houses. So I think this gives you an idea of the safety and precautions that UAE has to be able to have petrol pumps in these close proximities. But then yet again, a lot of people do have this paranoia in the back of their head where,
And
it's
for a
next to a
reason. And
petrol
still for a
pump.
reason. Something could go wrong and you would never know. I think there was a reel I saw once where a car was on fire in the petrol pump and another car ended up pushing it back so it wouldn't go next to the tap.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
saw
yeah,
that.
yeah. I've seen that one. Yeah, it was on Instagram. It went really viral.
Yeah.
So that it wouldn't spread, it wouldn't cause any of the underground
Yeah.
fuel containers to actually like blow up.
That's dangerous also.
Yeah, it is. But then, I don't think it's a point for you to be concerned if you have a petrol pump next
Yeah.
to your house, especially like an Arabian Ranches 3, which makes it an incentive for people to sell. But
100%.
then again, as an agent, a part of the business is that you give them an incentive
Yeah.
to sell. And a lot of these people, usually they're older, more mature investors. So they hear about something like this and you know how they think, oh, petrol pump, my house is going to catch on fire. Let me like sell it to someone else.
Yeah.
So if they get unlucky, they get
In
unlucky,
distress,
not
yeah.
me.
That's very true. But it just again, it all links back to the bike carrying white citizens. They do the best that they can. I want to talk to you about branded residences. You see so many Mercedes with Bugatti. You see so many branded residences. What Like, does it actually make a big effect?
See, now there is two things with branded residences. Number one, external brands branding up with developers, and number two is brands within developers. So, example of this one is Mercedes with Benghazi. An example of the second one is actually, let's say, MR's like Address or Vida, as well as Palace, right? The 5-star like hotel apartment thing, residence that they have. So, in the first example of an a brand partnering up with a developer such as Benghazi, for example, one thing that can happen is that a brand as prestigious as Mercedes is going to be very detail oriented.
Yeah.
So rest assured that, yeah, maybe Benghazi, you can argue that they're not bad, but you can argue they're not the best in the market either. But then once they've branded up with Mercedes in such a prestigious location like downtown, you can be rest assured that Mercedes is going to be on top of their heads and on it and making sure that what they're producing is actually of good quality.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So this is one pointer to it. Another pointer is that there may be multiple towers in the same area, but then when one is branded, it's going to have that prestige, right? So it's going to have that prestige there. So you see like apartments that have Burj Khalifa view, have fountain views, but then when you look at, address fountain views, it's going to be that extra prestige because of address on it. Now, touching up on brands within developers themselves, something like Address, it's actually like something that will take a bit of time to build. Because initially a brand can come up with, or like a developer can come up with a brand, but it takes a bit of time to establish that. AMR have done it very well. The thing with addresses is that they're of higher quality, they're furnished. They used to be serviced similar to a hotel, but they stopped that and they slashed the service charges in half from like 45 down to like 25.
That's pretty solid.
So yeah, people are not complaining. They were actually complaining about the high service charges and the fact that they didn't need the servicing, so they gave them the option.
At the end of the day. And if I was an investor, I think going for branded residences, specifically Address, would be my way to go, because at the end of the day, I hate to say it, it's basically capital guarantee. You're guaranteed on the capital because it's just Address
100%.
plus MR.
It's like buying a Birkin, let's say, right? Maybe you can compare branded residences like Address or like a really top brand like Mercedes pairing up with Benghazi, like buying into something like a Birkin. The thing about Birkins is they're branded. Most designer luxury items depreciate, but then when you have it on a scale where the supply is controlled, you're going to see that extra bit of growth.
Yeah.
Not only that, but if you invest in an address, because addresses usually when they're like 2 towers, one of them, half of it is like hotels. So when it comes to short-term rentals as well, if you invested in something like a 3-bedroom suite, you know what I mean? You can jack that up and, actually advertise it as a hotel unit, because most people, when they think address, especially tourists, they think like hotel. That's what I used to think when I was younger, right? When I didn't know much about IMR or real estate, I used to think all the address buildings are like full hotels. So when it comes to short-term rentals and even long-term rentals, you can actually charge that bit more, which makes a difference.
And a bit more, when you add it up every day, becomes a lot of money at the end of the year, which is exactly what investors want. Investors want to maximize profits.
100%. And then when you talk about branded and then you pair that up with good views, an example of a building being fountain views, you have days which are money makers for you. For example, New Year's. You can rent out one of those 2 bedrooms easily for like, if you get the right person, 5 to even 10 grand, depending on how high the floor is, how good the view is, and how much that person is willing to pay. And everyone, not only in Dubai, but around the world want to celebrate the New Year's looking at the Burj Khalifa fireworks. Because you might tell me it's cliche or whatever, but when you're there up close, it's that behemoth of a tower, and you see all the fireworks coming out of it continuously for like 15-20 minutes, it literally leaves you in awe with all of the fountains shooting up water. It's truly beautiful.
And Dubai is still here to give you opportunities. The thing was, like, last month I was with my client. We were doing some viewings, etc., recording at a Forte in downtown.
Okay, yeah, Forte, yeah.
And he took me to a unit. The second I entered, I was in wow. It had a Burj Khalifa view, a fountain view, old Dubai view, and sea view, all in one.
Full. Yeah, that's the beauty of it, especially when you think about capital appreciation. Views are really important. Views are really important. Now, one thing that I want to touch up on when it comes to views, when it comes to communities. Now, communities with golf courses in them have shown to appreciate anywhere between 15 to 20% more
Wow.
compared to communities that do not have golf courses in them. So that's the case with Dubai Hills. It was awarded the best new golf course of the year in 2019. And that's also going to be the case with Amar South. The golf course is set to open December 2025. You have townhouses and villas overlooking the golf course, and
Wow.
you're actually going to be having apartments that are going to be overlooking the golf course. So not only is the location strategic when you're looking at like 4, 5, 6 years down the line, but with the addition of a golf course, it's going to be extremely prestigious, because I believe one of the most prestigious views you can get in terms of townhouses and villas is either a really nice lagoon view, which
Yeah.
has been around for a really long time with meadows and springs, or on the other hand, golf course, which I think is much better.
Golf is a sign of like a luxurious sport. You don't see anybody playing golf. You see people who are wealthy playing golf.
Exactly.
And it's not even about that. When you, let's say, go to a community like golf estates, those houses aren't cheap. They're secondary,
Yeah.
a bit older on the side, but they aren't cheap. And the people you would meet there could change your life. It's just that one person who you could randomly meet playing golf with that could change your life.
Exactly. So golf is like basically like I wouldn't say an old man sport, but it's definitely something you need to develop a taste for.
Yeah.
Requires patience, and everyone wants things fast right now. So it's something to gather your thoughts, network with people, and especially a lot of these people, who play golf have already established and like cemented themselves in this mindset of like patience, and that's really the characteristics of people with money. Those people play golf, or you could say boring people, but at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's boring tasks that are done repetitively that actually make you successful. No one wants to sit in one place and do the calls.
100%.
No one wants to sit in one place and type, come up with content ideas. So this is where you can meet these people. It's a rich man's sport,
100%.
because you need the luxury of time as well when you're playing golf. And especially for investors, it's a great addition to any community as well.
Let's talk more about communities. Let's talk about Tilal Al Gaf, Marshid Al Futtaim's first, I believe, community in Dubai. What do you think about Tilal Al Gaf, especially with the appreciation on the Harmony Villas?
I mean, see, I don't know much about Tilal Al Gaf, to be fair with you, but from what I know, see, Majid Al Futtaim, or like Futtaim Group in general, they're not only in the business of malls, they're in the business of now real estate, and they actually have a community back in Sharjah as well. And one thing that I do know about Tilal Al Gaf is it has one of the most beautiful crystal blue lagoons that any community has. It's absolutely huge. It's very nice, and the villas on there have gotten that appreciation because of
Elysian
that
Mansions,
amazing
yeah.
view.
So there is a place in Tilal Al Gaf which are basically on the lagoon. The lagoon still isn't fully constructed. It's called Elysian Mansions. They are beautiful. I've seen them mid construction,
Yeah.
and they look beautiful. Talking about Tilal Al Gaf still, you have appreciation. Appreciation in Tilal Al Gaf is amazing. I think for the Harmony 1 villas, they were bought at 3.5 and are now being sold for 7 in the span of they bought in 2022 and are now being sold for 7. One of them, if I check DXP Interact, I think so, was sold for 10 and was bought for 3.5. Can you imagine that appreciation?
I will say one thing. Can I add something to this? Remember earlier I touched up on the fact that, townhouses in MR South are more expensive, or heading to be more expensive than what's in Arabian Ranches 3,
Yeah.
which is right now considered a better location. So my concern, or my thought on this, is that in Dubai, a lot of areas, even though they're really far apart from each other, have a tiny gap in between the
Yeah.
prices. So when you look at it, you are having developers that are selling one bedrooms in JVC, JVT for like
800,000, yeah.
actually no, like let's say Object One.
Okay.
Their one bedrooms are going beyond 900, almost 1 million and above, right? And then you see a developer like Midore selling a studio in JLT, for example, even though it's ready property, for like 1.4 million. But to be fair, it's a really huge 650 square foot, right?
That's big.
What I want to get to, the point is that the price gap in Dubai between the different areas is not as much as I think it should be. Now, it's all about demand and supply. I get that. But then you have this project that the developer I'm not going to name, but it's launching and it's going to be on Suqaim Road, close to Dubai Hills.
Okay.
like 5 minutes away from Dubai Hills Mall, and their one bedrooms are launching from 1.5 million. But then if you look on the contrast, on the other side of Dubai, around Creek Harbor itself, they're launching one bedrooms for 1.7 million. I'm sure as an investor, if you can afford 1.5 million, you can invest instead into Creek Harbor for 200,000 dirhams more. Or something that's even more shocking is, yeah, 1.5 million here, but with 1.5 million in downtown, you can get yourself a one bedroom.
Yeah.
It may be a slightly older tower, but you upgrade and convert that into an Airbnb, and it's a money making machine.
Machine.
So the point is, why are these developers charging so much in locations that aren't really considered prime? This is like my thought process behind it. And I do think by 2027, in like 3 years' time, where a lot of these projects get handed over, I don't want to say for sure they're going to depreciate, but what I think is most likely going to happen is they're not going to appreciate, but instead they're going to be really good investments in terms of getting ROI.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Good rental income.
I think what might happen was what happened back in 2014. So from 2008, once these properties started getting handed over 2009, 2010, 2011, everything slowed down. Rental prices went low. People who were renting were happy because costs were low. But then back in 2014, Dubai's rental prices hit an all-time high. It was so high that it was crazily expensive. So, we might see that small sort of thing. But again, history does not exactly repeat itself.
That's the point. I don't think it's going to repeat that. I think there's enough demand for what's going on now, because look at places like Hong Kong, for example, right? Like you're paying crazy, like 3 million dirhams for like a studio only, because the space is so
So
limited
less.
and there's more demand than the supply is. Demand asks for more, supply is just not there. I think Dubai is going down this route now as well, but you're still gonna have properties, like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 for like a decent developer, one bedroom in like, places around like, JVC, JVT, JLT. I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think they're gonna appreciate by much, because if you're telling me that a 1.5 million dirham project, the one that I mentioned is close to Dubai Hills Mall on Suqaim Road, is for 1.5 million, and you expect it to appreciate by like 400,000, that's what some people think, right? And it's gonna go to like 1.8,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't make
It's not
sense.
realistic.
So you're telling me the starting price of that tower is going to be more than downtown? And the thing with downtown is, you may tell me it's gonna appreciate, but I don't think some like 15-year-old
Yeah.
tower like the Burj Residences is gonna go up anything more than, let's say, 1.8. It matches it, but
Max.
is it supposed to match it? A full master community versus a single tower that has the view of Dubai Hills, let's say.
Yeah. I see where you come from. But at the same time, Dubai itself is starting to expand where it's going. It's starting to expand its land. The reason I say this is Dubai is connecting to Sharjah. You have so many areas. Name some areas that connect to Sharjah. Sorry, it's off the top of my head.
So a lot of areas that connect to Sharjah, there's a few. So you have like the villa residential side, which is GCC locals only, places like Khawanij, Mizhar, Mirdif not really, because it's on the other side. And then you have places like Nahda, you have Nahda Dubai, you
Yeah.
have Nahda Sharjah, you have Mamzar Dubai, Mamzar Sharjah.
So that shows that Dubai it's touched the Sharjah side. It's also densely. It's quite a densely populated place.
Exactly,
Also.
it's very dense. All of that falls kind of under data. You can argue that Khawan each
Yeah.
doesn't and Mizhar doesn't, but everything behaves directly behind the airport and on the side up until like Garhoud Bridge and like Maktoum Bridge is all considered data, and it's quite densely populated.
And now Dubai is also starting to move more towards the Abu Dhabi side.
Yeah.
So I think this can show us that honestly Dubai is starting to maximize all of its land.
The thing is, with the current rate of population growth in Dubai and how the developments are going, I think it's going to cause an increase in rent prices still. It will be more steady. It's
Yeah.
not going to just
Hike
go
up.
up, like shoot up directly. There's going to be a period of, where it, floats around.
Recorrection.
Exactly, recorrection, right? Especially in terms of course, once there's recorrection in rental prices, sale price is dependent on rental because of the demand, and there is going to be a recorrection within the market of selling and buying real estate in Dubai as well. I think Dubai is expanding. I don't think they're gonna run out of plots anytime soon or
Hmm.
off-plan projects. Off-plan projects are gonna be coming for at least the next 10 years because you have all of Dubai land now. Now the interesting thing with Dubai land is that Dubai Holding obviously owns it. They are not selling plots to other developers currently. And if you've seen the current vibe of it or the current plans, a lot of green communities over
Yeah,
there.
Gulf Woods. Gulf Woods is coming up, not over there, but I want to talk about Gulf Woods because of it's a new concept.
It is. It is kind of similar to Barari.
Okay,
Okay, kind of similar to Barari because of how green it is, or maybe an older community like green
the
community.
villa. The villa, it's villas, but it's amazing. It's amazingly green.
It is, but I wouldn't compare it to something
No.
like Barari or
Hmm.
maybe in the name itself, the green community. There's in DIP, there's in Motor City, extremely green, extremely nice. But that's the whole place that's the whole vibe that Dubai Land is going towards.
Yeah,
And I believe in the future, near future, we're going to be seeing a lot of launches there by Nakhil and Miras because they all fall under the Dubai Holding
yeah.
umbrella as well. So they're keeping it for themselves. And as you know, these guys have the best plots. Talking about City Walk, talking about Port de la Mer, talking about Medina Jumeirah Living, and Jumeirah Bay as well. So the only freehold in Jumeirah is actually owned by Miras because they were and now joined by Nakhil under the Dubai Holding
Yeah,
umbrella. So they definitely do have the best locations, and I think they're going to take over Dubai Land as well.
Dubai Land. Yeah, for sure. I think it's gonna be coming up because back in the days, there used to be a launch of City of Arabia. I'm not sure if you heard of it.
Yeah, I have Mag 3. Mag is actually developing there.
Okay.
They have a quite an attractive project. Attractive payment plan as well, but like post handover, fully furnished, Italian designer. Proposed lagoons are gonna come. A really big mall is gonna come over there. I believe Falcon City is around there as well.
I think we can
Uh,
expect a whole lot of new development just in that area. It's growing. It's
it
growing a
is. It's
lot.
coming up. As I said, Dubai Land is like the next hot thing
Isn't
right
yeah.
now. Especially City of Arabia, a lot of good developments are coming there. There's a proposed like huge lagoon that goes through the whole community.
Wow.
So it is different developers, but it's somehow going to be unified. So something to look out for, somewhere to invest as well. To be honest, quite an attractive place.
It needs time though. It needs a
It
bit of
does
time.
need time. It does need time. But one place that I do want to touch on is Maidan.
Oh yeah.
The proximity to downtown is crazy. 8 minutes. Proximity to all of the GCC holder areas. It's Nad Shiba basically. Extremely close to Nad Al Hamar. Extremely close to Khawanij. Connectivity to highways like Al Khail, Sheikh Zayed, and Mohammed bin Zayed as well is extremely easy. Whether you want to go to old Dubai, whether you want to go to new Dubai. Now, whether your budget is a million, million and a half dirhams, or it's 100 million, Maidan has something to offer. The price points are still quite attractive. If you want a townhouse, it has it. If you want a mansion, it has it. If you want a twin villa, it has it. If you want a part, whatever that you desire is there in Maidan.
I like Mohammed bin Rashid City because, as you mentioned,
District
location
1, yeah.
and it's owned by the government.
It is. Actually, I don't know if you knew this, but the first set of villas there were actually contracted and made by Shoba.
Wow.
Because the thing with Shoba is they were contractors before they actually became developers.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so Shoba actually like contracts their own projects. So they are basically the contractors to their own projects. They own the full workforce. They rent out the equipment themselves, like the cranes and
Yeah.
everything. A to Z of their projects is made by themselves. This is what makes Shoba so attractive.
Also tells us that this shows the quality of the buildings is always going to be consistent
100%.
because you see there's so many new contractors coming up now, and what's their goal? Their goal is to maximize profits by reducing costs.
100%.
So this can show that there could be slight impurities, small problems here and there in some apartments and some developments, and Shoba basically resolves that.
100%. When you have everything in your control, even if there's a mess up and something is wrong, there's no one else to blame but yourself. That means the developer cut costs and whatever. But anyone who's invested in Shoba or lives in a Shoba has no complaints. Yeah, maybe you might argue that their units may be slightly tinier than competitors, but you get your money's worth. You get good ROI on it. The quality is amazing, so you know it's going to last for years to come. And one concern that people have for apartments is how is it going to hold up in 10, 15
Yeah.
years? Because you can't re-renovate the whole building. But if you invest in a townhouse, you can renovate the whole thing, break it down, do whatever you want after like 10 years. As you see in Meadows and Springs, all these older
Happens.
communities, it happens, right? So that's why developer is really important as well. So as you mentioned, Maidan, especially Mohammed bin Rashid, District 1, was the first set of villas developed by
Shoba.
Shoba before they actually started their
Wow.
own developments.
Let's talk about investors losing money because you see a lot of investors investing in X project, and they've been getting barely any capital appreciation. What can one investor do to maximize his profits?
Let's first talk about how to not lose money while you're investing in real estate. Number one is very important is the developer. A lot of people may say location, but I say developer because wherever the hell MR develops, money's gonna come. People invested in MR South couple of years back, and back then there was no airport announcement, there was no nothing. Yeah, there was the expo ongoing and everything, but it didn't have the hype that it has now. And look at the returns people are getting, 40 to 50% appreciation
People
up
who
until now.
bought like a while ago, they were waiting for capital appreciation, waiting. They announced the MR announced, boom, as you mentioned,
Yeah,
40,
yeah, yeah,
50%.
yeah, yeah. They announced the airport and immediately boom, it went up. Especially the tactic with AMR is whatever they launch, their next launch is going to be more expensive compared to the secondary units. So this just forces the price to go up and up. Doesn't mean if you buy on the second phase or the third phase, or we have Greenway now, and then Greenway 2, which we touched up on. It's slightly more expensive, but it's still going to appreciate. But this also means that because it's launched at more expensive, there's going to be a new baseline price for the investors that invested in Greenway's last launch, Greenway 1. So if it's MR, invest anywhere. So good investment first is the developer. If it's a good reputable government developer, no matter where they
Invest.
where they
Yeah.
develop, you can invest. Be rest assured. Even some places like international, I don't know if you knew this, but Discovery Gardens, that place where it's like iffy, is made by Nakhil.
Okay.
International City is made by Nakhil.
International city. Okay.
International City is made by Nakhil. Now, these places may not really, I don't know much about their history, but, in terms of buying and selling,
I don't think it's that attractive because I saw one of the cheapest apartments in Dubai was an international
yeah, yeah.
city.
The cheapest apartments are always in International City, but it's amazing return on
Yeah.
investment. What a lot of people do is they buy it or they rent it out and then they do these like shared accommodations
Partitions,
for the
yeah.
partitions.
Especially in international city.
And these bring in crazy money. Like a lot of people think short term is the only way to do it. A lot of people think that let me do it long term. But then you have these people in like data and these like slightly ran down places compared to the rest of Dubai doing these partitions. Man, his rent is like 60,000 a
He's
year.
making 200, bro.
And depending on the place, right? People in business they jack up the price. Like for example, it's like a 1 bedroom, 1,000 square foot old like development. The rent is like what, maybe like, okay, let's say at most for like a 15-year-old building in Business Bay is like 90,000
Yeah.
for a 1 bed. And then he has like 10 people in there and he charges each of them like 3,000 per month.
Like you see,
Which is like, really like underestimating the amount of people that they cram in there. So you do the math and see how
it's a
much they're
lot.
making.
So they have 2 bedrooms. In each bedroom, they have 4 bunk beds. Each bunk bed holds 2 people.
Now that's generous.
Again, that's so
That's
generous.
generous, right? 2 bedrooms, 4 people, and that's very generous. You have a lot of space and whatever. What these people do is they make like coffin like partitions where there is literally like the width of this chair, amount of space to walk, and then your bed.
That's it.
And usually it's either 2 beds or 3 beds at times. You see, you can pay a bit more and get one of those like coffin partitions to yourself. But for a lot of people who
They can't
are,
afford that.
they can't afford that, honestly, right? Again, you have to think, is it ethical? Yes, because you're giving them housing. No, because that's the only
It's-
housing they can afford. But by no means is it, a bad thing to do. But in hindsight, a lot of people may disagree with it.
Yeah.
And actually, you are not protected by, landlord and tenant laws
Yeah.
because there is no ijari.
Okay.
You cannot make a separate ijari for each bed unless you have someone in the apartment who is stable and there, and the ijari is under their name, but they still have to give some sort of guaranteed check,
Yeah.
which these people can't afford, right? So you can get evicted like this. There is no ijari. The moment that person
It's
comes,
so
he's
much
in my house,
exploitation.
huh?
So much exploitation.
Exactly. So a lot of people can actually, let their morals slip up
Hmm.
and just, do things. And with these type of people living in these spaces, sometimes it's necessary, I would say, but it really depends on your
This is how
morals.
Dubai stays cheap, but cheap labor only can come through methods like these, honestly.
Well, the thing is that with Dubai, you can live a comfortable life. However, it just depends on your gratitude.
Hmm.
For one person, this coffin, or what we call a coffin bed
It's
or
so
a
big.
coffin room, not that it's big, but in the sense of mentally, the capabilities this bed gives him, in the sense that he has a place to sleep in Dubai. He can work in Dubai. He can send back, let's say his paycheck is 3,000. He's able to save 800 to 1,000 and send back home, which is probably a lot of money. This is like a good opportunity for him. So it's all about your gratitude. One person's hell can be another person's heaven,
Seven.
or one man's trash is another man's treasure, right? I'm just talking in like broad spectrum of this compared to what the real estate market that's
Yeah.
being glorified is, right? So you can't say this is bad and that is bad, because then again, you're giving housing to someone, and if he's grateful and has that gratitude, it may be a really good opportunity for him, and he's really happy about it.
But at the same time, it's good for people who can afford that. But when I was living back in Dubai, maybe 5 to 7 years ago, I was living in a building that slowly got transitioned
Yeah,
into.
it happens a
It's
lot.
now it's happening more just due to the fact that buildings are aging.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to live in buildings which have continuous maintenance problems, and so now they're moving into buildings with cheap rent. You could say Azizi Riviera. I think it got handed over like maybe this year, last
Yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah. There's different phases. It got handed over like recently, all of them.
Cheap rent because there's a lot of supply for Azizi Riviera,
Yeah,
if I'm
yeah.
not wrong. So people who were maybe living in Bur Dubai as a family, they may be now moving to Azizi Riviera. The partitions are taking their apartment, partitioning it up like this and like that. I saw once they extended the balcony to where they were having rooms in the balcony.
Yeah, the thing is, the balcony is so huge, you can actually set up like another room over there. There's instances where I've seen in some of the one bedrooms in Maidan in Azizi, where the unit is like 650 square foot, 700 square foot, and the balcony is another 500 square foot, size of a studio, right? So, depending on the weather, that could be a really useful space. In winter, you can just chill and relax there, do
Dubai
whatever with
winters
your
is
friends.
like heaven.
But then in summer, it's kind of
It's
like
you
hell.
can't.
You
It's
have
not
all the
possible.
space that you
Yeah.
can't use, right? So, yeah, but in general, supply and demand, the demand is never sleeping in Dubai. As you know, there's conflict all around the region, unfortunately, and a lot of economies that are
Yeah.
breaking down, and a lot of people are looking to bring their money somewhere and start a life somewhere, start their businesses, continue their professions somewhere where it's familiar to them and where it's accepting. And Dubai is that place. Back in the
Absolutely.
day, people were like America, the American dream, but now it's the Dubai dream. You get tolerated here, you can do your profession here, you can run your business here, you don't have any taxes, you get accepted, you're close to your home country, you don't have to pay for a 5,000 dirham ticket, you pay 1,500 and boom, you're back in Pakistan, India,
What's most
Iran,
important,
wherever.
I think, especially in Dubai, is women here are treated safely. Dubai is one of the safest cities in the world, and I think safety is what people pay for. Like, if I were to go back to, let's say, India, where I'm from, I would not feel safe walking outside at 3 o'clock at night, going to Spinneys, going to Carrefour.
100%. And a part of this is because the largest majority of people living here are expats. This means the government has a strong arm over them. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's a good thing, because they know the privilege of living here, and they know if they do anything messed up, they may not have that privilege anymore. So, a lot of people decide to follow the law. And even if you look at people breaking the law in Dubai, it's stuff like not paying
Jaywalking,
back someone, or yeah, it's
jaywalking,
either like really serious financial
yeah,
crimes or petty crimes like jaywalking,
speeding.
you know.
Speeding is every
Yeah, but like
yeah,
reckless driving,
yeah,
let's just
a
put it at
lot.
that. Okay, that's a slight bit of a problem, but they brought in
The,
really harsh laws.
yeah,
Stuff like petty theft, like someone takes a wallet from somewhere, or there's a phone somewhere, but there's no actual violence, because the consequences for that is
oh, it's very
insane.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very bad. So no one really looks to do it. Yeah, every once in a while you get that person who's the odd one
anomaly.
out, and does something, but general consensus, Dubai is extremely safe.
I can feel safe leaving my laptop out in Dubai Mall and knowing it won't get stolen, and that's what matters most to me.
Yeah, it's very important that public safety that you get, the safety when you're in public, and you can just leave your phone, wallet, and laptop there, even though you have no guarantee that no one is gonna steal it. It's just the general consensus is that when someone sees it, they respect that it's there and they just walk away, right?
100%.
No one actually looks to
Steal
take it
it,
away
yeah.
from you and steal it. Exactly, 100%.
I
But
think
yeah,
that's a wrap. I think that was a great podcast.
you think so?
I think it was
There's
amazing.
one more
Okay.
topic that I want to touch up on though, and that is 1 second. Let me see. There's a few things actually, but I want to
Okay.
pick one out. Yeah. Okay. Now, what agencies should you work with? What type of agents you should work with? First of all, very simple, registered.
Okay.
Yeah, check that they have their licenses, they're registered. Someone with a good traction and background, someone who you can build a rapport with. Because a lot of people sell you dreams, a lot of agents they lie to you, but if you don't cross check with other agents and actually encourage investors that I work with, I'm like, you're hearing this from me, but go hear it from someone
Yeah.
else. Go see what someone else tells you, go hear it out there as well. So you have an idea of what I'm saying and you can gauge for yourself instead of blindly trusting me.
Yeah.
Most investors wouldn't blindly trust me or anyone else as an agent, but when you encourage them to go out and see for themselves, it builds that different level of trust.
100%.
Now, another thing here that I want to touch upon as well is what not to do when you're investing, especially in off plan. Number one, I'm not going to name the specific developer, but what they do is they have like 3 launches a month, 4 launches a month. Their payment plans are extremely flexible. They have a lot of projects that are under construction now, plus more coming. So there's a large supply of construction, a lot of similar communities. So one is being completed in a year, and they just recently launched another one that slashed the prices like almost in half.
You're snaking your own investors. It's
Exactly. And what happens here is the moment there is a slight hiccup in the market and their payment plan is so comfortable and they have so many projects, one of two things, if not two things, is going to happen. One, they're going to cut down on costs, which means building material because they don't have the resources. Or two, they're going to delay it until your next
yeah.
payments come in, right? And if there's a hiccup in the market and there's a few late payments and there's a few
Everything gets
cancellations,
messed up.
everything gets messed up. Unless they have a lot of reserve cash,
Mm-hmm.
but then in order to fund the start of those projects, you're going to be using up a lot of your reserve cash,
100%.
causes a lot of supply for that specific developer. And, I've been in talks with some of their previous investors and they are
Not happy.
not happy. One of the OPs were around 1.7,
Okay.
1.6, 1.7. I spoke with this one guy. He bought it at 1.8. He's like, it's getting handed over in less than 12 months. And this is around where investors want to buy it off of
Yeah.
initial
Offline
investors,
resale.
it's getting ready in a year and, they're like fine with it. They're like, yeah, let me buy it now. I just have to wait a year. I'm not paying the full premium because it's still not ready. And he's like, I bought it for 1.8.
Uh-huh.
It's in the time frame where investors come in to buy, but I haven't gotten any offer above 1.95. And his OP was 1.8
With fees, with this, with
without
that.
fees. So
Oh,
1.8 before even calculating your 4% DLD. It's off plan. So, that is just that extra 4% on top. There's no agent commission. So you really have to sit down and think with yourself.
is it profitable?
Huh?
Is it profitable?
No, it's not. It's really not. So you really have to, have this general consensus in your head and actually talk with someone. Because if you go directly to the developers,
Yeah.
if anyone goes to developers directly, they're gonna do an amazing job at making it seem like it's the best project, selling you some fancy brochure, but then you buy into it and you realize they're not giving you any after sale service, and it's getting delayed, it's not appreciating in price, and a whole load of issues.
Big
And the thing
problems.
about these developers, they go direct with clients as much as they can to sell them the
Oh.
dream, but after they sell it to them, you don't hear of them again.
That's the anomaly in the market, you should say. It sucks, but there's always
Yeah,
that one
that's how it
anomaly.
is. This is why I should work with government developers mainly,
And more.
reliable private developers, and all, sorts of reliable sources in the real estate market instead of letting someone
Yeah.
sell you a dream and,
Overpromised, underdelivered.
yeah, exactly.
There we go.
Anyways, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
As you mentioned, it was
Thank you.
great. Thank you for having me.
It was great speaking with you.
Yeah, amazing. And hopefully we'll have more of these.
Inshallah.
Yeah, we'll make more content, educate and inform people more. You know, this was like a general idea on like everything going on in
Yeah.
Dubai right now, just a small touch up, and we can dive into specifics on each episode
Sounds
later
good.
on after that. Amazing.